Welcome back, One Piece fans! Today, we're diving deep into one of the most intriguing and mysterious races in the world of Eiichiro Oda's epic saga, the Giants of Elbaf. From their legendary strength to their rich cultural heritage, the Giants have captured our imagination since their first mention. In this video, we'll unravel the entire story of these colossal beings, exploring their history, their pivotal roles in the series, and their connections to the wider One Piece universe. So, grab your ship's wheel and set sail with us as we uncover the fascinating tale of the Giants of Elbaf. This video required a lot of research as we had to read through 25 years worth of content, so please, if you like the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. The giant race consists of two distinct subspecies. The normal giants, whose height ranges from 15 to 20 m on average, and the ancient giants can grow up to 60 meters. The only two members of this subspecies introduced in the story were Oars, the continent Pula, introduced in the Thriller Bark arc, and Little Oars Jr., who was a member of the Whitebeard Pirates Grand Fleet. The ancient giants are not only taller than the normal giants, but they also possess horns and an animalistic appearance. The Yeti-Cool brothers do not share the same features as the normal giants, or even the ancient giants. This could mean that they are part of a unique subspecies of giants. They are 40 meters tall and are extremely hairy, giving them an ape-like appearance. Sanwon Wolf is a normal giant who stands at 18 meters. His devil fruit, however, confers him the ability to multiply his height by 10. He can thus increase his height to about 180 meters. Giants have a lifespan that is approximately 3 to 4 times longer than that of humans, allowing them to live for up to 300 years. The oldest giant introduced in the story is Waterfall Beard, who was 345 years old 63 years ago. If Mountain Beard is still alive, he would now be around 408 years old, making him one of the oldest living characters in the story. Similar to the Scandinavians and the Vikings, the political setup of the giants seems to be based on alliances between clans. Power is centralized. Many villages are governed by a monarchy. The only member of the monarchy introduced in the story is Prince Loki. Given that this character was inspired by Nordic mythology, this might imply that the current ruler of Wallen could be King Odin. A character known as Thor could make an appearance in this arc as well. The giants do not have any external relations with any other nation or specific individual, but for 3 exceptions. Mother Carmel's orphanage, the red-haired pirates, who appear to be the guardians of Elbaf, and the Straw Hat pirate crew. The giants refer to Shanks as their elder brother. The reason for this is, however, unknown. The Red Force, the red-haired pirate ship, seems to have been inspired by the Viking longboats. The Giants of Elbaf are renowned for their profound sense of pride and honor, which permeates every aspect of their lives. Their culture places immense value on personal and communal integrity, with every action and decision reflecting their commitment to these ideals. The Giants' pride is deeply rooted in their storied history and their ancestral achievements, driving them to uphold the traditions and legacies passed down through generations. Honor is not merely a concept, but a way of life for the Elbaf Giants, influencing their interactions with allies and adversaries alike. Their grand battles and monumental feats are celebrated as demonstrations of their steadfast adherence to these principles, reinforcing their reputation as a noble and formidable race. There appears to be a creature that lives close to Elbaf, whose skin is so tough that no blade can cut through it. This creature is referred to as the blood-stained snake. Dory and Broggy mentioned this before killing the giant goldfish. This creature could be another Nordic reference to Jormungandr, the world serpent of Norse mythology. According to the myth, This serpent's body was coiled around the whole Earth under the oceans. This has caused many to speculate the blood-stained snake is a reference to the red line which completely encircles the world of One Piece, separating all of the 4 seas. In Elbaf, quarrels are settled in 1v1 duels. The giants believe that the gods will always grant victory to the right party. This, however, when examined, is a rip-off of the law of the jungle, where the strong bully the weak. Everything in the island of Elbaf is of abnormal size. This is reflected in the topography and geography of the island. There are giant trees, giant animals, and even giant mountains. A typical example of this anomaly is the ginormous tree located at the center of the island. This tree could be a reference to Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse mythology. The different realms in Norse mythology could simply be different sky islands, connected by this massive tree. On the horizon, there is a giant silhouette that may indicate another massive tree. This could potentially be the treasure tree Adam or the giant Jack, which might interconnect sky islands. Alternatively, it could represent the highway of the west mentioned by Ganfall, the only other route used to get to Skypiea. This tree might also clarify how the on-air pirates managed to escape from a group of wild boars using a skyway.
いいえ、私ではありません。太陽の神がすべて治めたのよ。
The giants appear to practice a polytheistic religion centered around the mythical figure Nika, who is worshipped as the sun god. The origins of Nika, a figure venerated by many, including the buccaneers and slaves, can be traced back to Warland. Despite the meticulous efforts of the 5 elders to erase this figure from existence, his story endured and is celebrated annually during the winter solstice, a time that symbolizes the death and rebirth of the sun. Before the feast, the giants consume a large quantity of semla for energy, after which the citizens fast for 12 days, drinking only water. As the feast concludes, a grand banquet is held to commemorate the rebirth of the sun. The giants have had some of the most notorious pirates in existence, with Dory and Broggy having a bounty of 100 million over a century ago. Since Dory and Broggy are second-generation giant captains, this must have meant that Jorel and Jarl had bounties as well. Initially led by the elders Jorel and Jarl, and then subsequently by Dory and Broggy, the pirate crew consisted of many members, some of whom included Oimo, Kashi, Raiden, and Stenson. The notoriety of the giant pirates spread across the Grand Line quickly. Once the crew arrived at Little Garden, a quarrel broke out between the captains. To settle the dispute in typical Elbaf style, the captains disbanded the crew. Their duel ended up lasting for decades, prompting Oimo, Kashi, and Raiden to return to Elbaf to train the next generation, including Hadrudin, whose secret goal is to become the king of Elbaf. The remnants of the giant pirate crew that did not return to Elbaf were captured and sentenced to death. The strength displayed by the giant pirates piqued the interest of the world government, which sought to bolster its military might by constructing a giant army. Since the giants proved difficult to control due to their nation not being a world government affiliate, they turned to artificial gigantification, financing their scientific division in hopes of achieving this goal. However, the results failed to meet their expectations, leading them to refocus their attention on the giants. Utilizing special agents as proxies, they recruited an individual from the black market operating under the code name Yamaba the Mountain Witch, who specialized in the trafficking of orphans. Using the abilities of her devil fruit, the Soru Soru Nomi, she deceived the giants into believing she was an envoy of the gods. She took full advantage of this guise, constructing an orphanage in Elbaf known as the Sheep's House. Her benevolent appearance earned her the moniker, Holy Mother Carmel. 70 years ago, she sold the very first giant, Vice Admiral John Giant, who joined the ranks of the Navy. From that point onwards, she sold many more giants to the Navy, establishing them as the only non-human soldiers in the Grand Line. 63 years ago, Mother Carmel met Charlotte Lin Lin, an abnormally huge kid. She tried to sell her to the world government. However, during the winter solstice of that year, Lin Lin lost control, due to starvation. She destroyed a village and killed Jorel, one of the 2 former captains of the giant pirates. This was a first in the history of the island, and the greatest dishonor to the life of an honorable giant. To solve the problem, Yamamba used her powers once more to create a son, which she claimed was a sign. Thanks to her quick wits, Lin was spared, but banished from Elbaf. A giant who cared about the sheep's house decided to visit Mother Carmel and the kids in the new orphanage. This giant observed a horrific scene at Lin's birthday party as she lost control and ate Mother Carmel and the other orphans. This gruesome event was reported to the citizens of Elbaf. As a result of this, Lin became persona non grata on the island and was permanently banished from the island. 10 years later, Oimo and Kashi, tired of waiting for their captain's return, left the island to go pick them up. However, they were deceived into thinking that their captains had been captured by the world government, who proposed to release their captains if they guarded the gates of justice for 100 years. 22 years ago, the scholars of O'Hara researched the taboo subjects of the world, such as the Void Century. Their island was utterly destroyed by a buster call. The former Vice Admiral Jaguar D. Saul, one of the two sole survivors of the incident, together with Nico Robin, decided to take action to preserve the knowledge of the scholars. He garnered support from the giants, most notably Hadrugan and his friends, and they retrieved all the books of the scholars and carried them back to Elbaf. Vegapunk and Monkey D. Dragon witnessed this scene. Saul invited Dr. Vegapunk to the library of Elbaf, so that he could use the knowledge of the books to complete D. Clover's research on the Void Century. Dr. Vegapunk was later scouted by the world government from the group of rogue scientists known as MADS to bolster the military might of the Navy with his scientific innovations. Initially stationed at Punk Hazard, he was later transferred to Egghead Island. Thanks to the world government's financial support, Dr. Vegapunk's ingenuity flourished, resulting in numerous groundbreaking advancements in science and technology. Some of his significant achievements included the creation of pacifistas and other cyborgs, the discovery of the lineage factor, the development of cloning technology alongside other scientists from MADS, the creation of artificial devil fruits, and the discovery of sea stone and its applications, particularly in capturing devil fruit users. However, despite his brilliance, Dr. Vegapunk failed to meet one of the world government's primary objectives, artificially induced gigantification. His initial experiments involved prisoners from Impel Down. Although these experiments resulted in apparent increases in size, they ultimately failed, leading to the deaths of some prisoners and the cryogenic freezing of others. These frozen individuals were later discovered by Caesar Clown, an ally of Don Quixote do Flamingo and, by extension, the Sea Emperor Kaido. Caesar seized the opportunity to sell these giants to Kaido, who intended to use them to create an army and invade the samurai nation of Wano Kuni, protected by the legendary samurai Kazuki Oden. These giants became known as the Numbers, possessing the appearance and height of ancient giants, but lacking any cognitive function. Shanks formed a friendship with the giant captains Broggy and Dory in a different part of the world. Thanks to his immense strength and powerful King's Haki, he and his crewmates gained the giants' respect, earning a warm welcome in Elbaf, regarded as one of their own. Meanwhile, Charlotte Lin, now an Empress of the Sea, harbored a long-standing dream, rooted in her memories from the sheep's house, of creating a peaceful nation where people of all races could coexist harmoniously. However, her dream was incomplete due to the absence of three races, the Buccaneers, with Kumar as the sole survivor, the Lunarians, represented only by King, and the Giants, with whom she had struggled to forge friendly relations. The situation remained unchanged until an opportunity arose. Prince Loki, the Crown Prince of Warland, had fallen in love with Charlotte Lola, the 23rd daughter of Empress Lin. For the first time, an alliance with the giant seemed possible, significantly enhancing her military power and giving her confidence to defeat the other three emperors to claim the title of Pirate Queen. Unfortunately, Lola did not reciprocate Loki's feelings and fled, unwilling to be entangled in her mother's military ambitions. In a desperate move, Lin attempted to switch Lola with her twin sister Chiffon, but the giant saw through her deception. The wedding was promptly called off, further deepening their disdain for her. Having come to terms with the fact that an alliance with the giants of Elbaf was no longer possible, Charlotte Lin decided to turn to gigantification as an alternative. She began to finance Caesar Clown's research on the subject. However, Caesar misused all the funds for his interests and experimented on little kids as test subjects. his experiments on gigantification closely mirrored Dr. Vegapunk's, resulting in failures. This did not dissuade Lin Lin, as she instructed Prospero, her best architect, to construct an ultra-modern lab on Whole Cake Island for Caesar to complete his research there. 4 years ago, Portgas d'Ace had traveled to Elbaf to personally thank Shanks for saving his brother's life and met the red-haired pirates. 2 years ago, Stenson, now a mercenary, was captured and sent to the Sabaody archipelago to be sold as a slave. He was accidentally freed by Silver's Rayleigh, the Dark King, and returned to Elbaf. That same year, the daily duel between Dory and Broggy was interrupted by members of Baroque Works, but they were ultimately saved by the Straw Hat Pirates. Their bravery inspired Usopp, who promised to visit them in Elbaf someday. A few months later, Usopp freed Oimo and Kashi, who had served as guardians of the Gates of Justice for 50 years. He informed them that the world government had deceived them since they had encountered their captains just a few months earlier, who had continued their daily duels. Finally free thanks to Usopp, Oimo and Kashi vowed to repay their debt to him and the Straw Hat Pirates. They headed for Little Garden to reunite with their captains and reform the old crew. In Elbaf, Hadrudin grew impatient waiting for the captains and decided to form his crew, the new giant pirates, with his friends, those who had helped him retrieve the scholars' books from the destroyed island. The crew consisted of Hadrudin as captain, Gould the doctor, Goldberg the cook, Stenson the carpenter, and Rod the navigator. They later became affiliated with Captain Buggy, the warlord, working as mercenaries. However, things changed 5 months ago when they learned that Don Quixote do Flamingo, the Joker and ruler of Dressrosa, was organizing a competition with an irresistible reward, the Mera Mera Nomi, the devil fruit of the deceased Portgas d'Ace. Fixed on becoming the next king of Elbaf, Hadrudin saw this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He entered the competition but fell into Doflamingo's trap and was forced to work in the underground factory. Fortunately, he was rescued yet again by Usopp. Indebted to this human, and by extension the Straw Hat Pirates, he decided to part ways with Buggy and join the Straw Hat Ground Fleet. 24 hours ago, Shanks and the red-haired pirates met Dory and Broggy, old acquaintances, and together they defeated the Kid Pirates. After seeing Luffy's new bounty and his resemblance to Nika, the giant pirate crew decided to head for Egghead Island to save Luffy from the Navy and the Five Elders. A heartwarming reunion ensued as they finally joined forces with their saviors. After fending off the attacks from the Navy and the Five Elders, they all set sail for the island of Elbaf. Both crews partied for 2 days, drinking absinthe, a specific type of liquor known to cause hallucinations. A few minutes ago, the Giants and some members of the Straw Hat Pirate crew discovered that the Thousand Sunny and part of the crew had vanished. Just moments ago, Nomi woke up in a strange room with a Lego theme. This is a complete summary of the story of the Giants up to chapter 1126. With the start of the Elbaf arc, Oda will most certainly use this narrative to address the various plot points concerning the Giants that he has introduced throughout the story. Some of these questions include: what is Shanks' role on the island, and is it protected by him? What is the blood-stained serpent that cannot be cut by Elbafian blades? How will Usopp become a brave warrior of the sea? Did Lin Lin really eat Mother Carmel and the other kids? What is the name of the tree located at the center of the island? How and why did the myth of Nika originate from Elbaf? Will Hadrudin become king of Elbaf? Where do the ancient giants come from? Are Kaido and Yamato in any way related to the ancient giants? Was Wano country constructed by a mythical continent pooler? Is the skull on Onigashima that of a massive ancient giant? Where did the iconic buccaneers come from? What is the highway of the west that Shanks talked about? Are there multiple gigantic trees on Elbaf? These are some of the questions that may be answered in this arc. Well, that's it from me, guys. Please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more related content. I am your host, Sean, and it was a pleasure.